How Jeremy Clarkson's family lost their eye-watering fortune. When Jeremy Clarkson went in search of information on his mother's side of the family, he discovered they had been worth a fortune. Jeremy Clarkson was born into a regular working-class household. His mother worked as a teacher and father, a traveling salesman. While they subsequently launched a business and became comfortable, just a couple of generations earlier his family were exceedingly wealthy, having made a fortune in glassware. One of his ancestors even owned one of the first cars, which is the equivalent of owning a private jet today. Despite this, by the time Clarkson's Farm star Jeremy came along, that money had disappeared in a rags to riches and back to rags tale. Years later, in 2004, Jeremy went in search of answers about what happened when he appeared on the first series of genealogy show Who Do You Think You Are? One of the first things he asked about his family was, what happened to the money? The Grand Tour presenter knew one of his ancestors on his mother's side had invented the Kilner jar, a rubber-sealed screw-topped receptacle, still used today by cooks for vacuum-sealing food such as homemade jams and preserves. It transpired that this was John Kilner, Jeremy's great-great-great-great-grandfather, who was born in 1792. Having been an employee in a glassworks factory, he set up a business with friends before breaking out on his own. By 1894, the family business was manufacturing more than 3,000 different varieties of bottles and jars and owned warehouses in London. They were hugely prosperous. The fact there were no death duties in the Victorian era benefited them. When John died in 1857, the firm and wealth was passed intact to John's four sons, George, William, John and Caleb, who was Jeremy's great-grandfather. The business continued to thrive with Caleb overseeing it, and in 1862, they won a medal at the Great Exhibition. However, in 1871 they hit a speed bump when they faced a court case brought by the estate of the Earl of Scarborough against them. It was argued that smoke from the Thornhill factory was polluting land around the factory. The judge ruled against the Kilners, arguing that, no man has the right to interfere with the supply of pure air. Although it was ruled they install 6 gas furnaces at a huge cost of £1,500 each, this did not lead to the ruination of the family, who absorbed the cost. Sadly for the family, small UK firms faced fierce competition from cheap imports in the early 20th century, and some firms had to merge to survive. This led to United Glass Bottle, which was a conglomeration of 6 glassware firms who bought the Kilner patents when the firm fell into decline. During the show, Jeremy found a copy of Caleb's will in the attic of his 2 ex-great-grandfather's former home, Ivanhoe Lodge, and it showed he left the equivalent of millions of pounds, most of which went to his son, George, and son-in-law, Harry Smethurst, who was married to Jeremy's great-grandmother Annie Kilner. Despite his inheritance, George mortgaged the family home in 1931 before the family business finally closed in 1937. Meanwhile, Harry, who was an architect, and Annie appear to have frittered much of their fortune as they were prone to opulent displays of wealth. They are rumored to have spent some of the inheritance on a car around 1901. Although some money remained, when Annie died she disinherited her daughter, Jeremy's grandmother, Gwendolyn. It transpired the winding up of the factory caused a family rift over how the proceeds of the closure should be divided. Gwendolyn seemingly sided with her cousin, causing estrangement from her parents. The money instead passed to her brother, Tom, Jeremy's great-uncle. Despite discovering that he missed out on inheriting a fortune, Jeremy took solace in the fact that the Kilner name lives on as the jars are still being manufactured, and said he was proud to have ancestors who were integral to the patchwork quilt of ingenuity that made the Industrial Revolution. Are we not celebrating what we are growing in this country? As the Christmas season approaches, the rural heart of Britain is bustling with activity. Among the farmers preparing for the festive season, Caleb Cooper, a name synonymous with modern British agriculture, has sparked an important conversation about the value of homegrown produce. Known for his candid humor and passion for farming, Cooper's plea is simple yet profound: why are we not celebrating what we are growing in this country? In this extensive feature, we delve into Cooper's perspective, explore the challenges facing British farmers, and examine how consumers can reconnect with the land that feeds them. Through his heartfelt message, Cooper invites us to reconsider the role of farming in our lives and the importance of supporting local producers, particularly during the festive season. The spirit of Christmas on the farm. For Caleb Cooper, Christmas is more than just a season of giving, it is a time to reflect on the abundance of the land. Cooper, best known for his role alongside Jeremy Clarkson in the hit series Clarkson's Farm, has become an outspoken advocate for British agriculture. His passion for farming runs deep, and his commitment to promoting local produce is unwavering. Christmas is a time to celebrate what we have, says Cooper. For farmers, that means taking pride in what we grow and produce. Yet, every year, I see more imported products on our tables, and it makes me wonder, why are we not celebrating the incredible food we're growing right here in this country? A call to celebrate British produce. Cooper's question taps into a broader issue within British agriculture. Despite producing some of the highest quality food in the world, British farmers often struggle to compete with cheaper imports. From turkeys and vegetables to cheese and wine, the UK offers a wealth of festive produce, yet many consumers remain unaware of the benefits of choosing local. Take Christmas dinner, for example, Cooper explains. Every ingredient on your plate, from the turkey to the sprouts, can be sourced from British farms. But how many people actually stop to think about that? How many people know the story behind the food they're eating? This disconnect between consumers and the origins of their food is at the heart of Cooper's message. By celebrating British produce, he believes we can not only support local farmers but also strengthen our connection to the land and the communities that sustain us. The challenges facing British farmers. Cooper's call to action comes at a time when British farmers are facing unprecedented challenges. Rising costs, labor shortages, and changing weather patterns have made farming more difficult than ever. Meanwhile, global competition and trade agreements have increased pressure on local producers. According to the National Farmers Union (NFU), the cost of inputs such as fertilizer, fuel, and animal feed has risen sharply in recent years. These rising costs have forced many farmers to make tough decisions, from scaling back production to diversifying their operations. Farming is not an easy job, Cooper says. It's hard work, and it comes with a lot of uncertainty. But what makes it even harder is when people don't value what we're doing. When you see imported products taking up space on shelves while local produce goes to waste, it's disheartening. Sustainability and food security. In addition to economic pressures, British farmers are also grappling with the need for greater sustainability. As concerns about climate change and food security grow, there is increasing demand for farming practices that prioritize environmental stewardship. For Cooper, supporting local agriculture is a key part of the solution. When you buy British, you're not just supporting farmers, you're supporting the environment, he says. Local produce has fewer food miles, which means less pollution. Plus, British farmers are some of the most sustainable in the world. We care about the land because we live on it. By choosing local produce, consumers can play a direct role in promoting sustainable practices and reducing their carbon footprint. This is particularly important during the festive season, when food consumption typically increases. Reconnecting with the land. Cooper also emphasizes the importance of reconnecting with the land. In an age of convenience and globalization, many people have lost touch with where their food comes from. This disconnect has implications not only for farmers but also for society as a whole. Farming isn't just about producing food, it's about preserving a way of life, Cooper explains. When people lose touch with farming, they lose touch with the land. And when that happens, we all lose something valuable. To bridge this gap, Cooper encourages people to visit farms, attend local markets, and engage with the farming community. Christmas is the perfect time to start, he says. Take your kids to a farm to see where their food comes from. Buy a locally raised turkey or some homegrown vegetables. It's about making that connection and understanding the effort that goes into every bite. The role of retailers and policymakers. While consumers play a crucial role in supporting local agriculture, Cooper believes that retailers and policymakers also have a responsibility to prioritize British produce. He calls for greater transparency in labeling and stronger incentives for supermarkets to stock local products. Retailers have a huge influence on what people buy, he says. If they put British produce front and center, more people will choose it. But it's also up to the government to support farmers and ensure that we have a level playing field. In recent years, initiatives such as the Red Tractor Scheme and the NFU's Back British Farming campaign have helped raise awareness of the importance of supporting local agriculture. However, Cooper argues that more needs to be done to protect the future of British farming. Looking to the future. Despite the challenges, Cooper remains optimistic about the future of British agriculture. He believes that with the right support and a shift in consumer attitudes, local farming can thrive. I've always said that farming is the backbone of this country, he says. It's what keeps us fed and grounded. If we want to preserve that, we need to start celebrating what we're growing and producing right here. And there's no better time to start than at Christmas. A festive call to action. As families gather around their tables this Christmas, Cooper's message offers food for thought. By choosing British produce, we can not only enjoy fresher, tastier food but also support the farmers who work tirelessly to sustain us. Christmas is about gratitude, Cooper says. And there's no better way to show that gratitude than by supporting your local farmers. Let's make this a season of celebration, for our food, our land, and the people who make it all possible. Through his passion and advocacy, Caleb Cooper reminds us of the importance of farming in our lives. This Christmas, let's honor his call to action and celebrate the bounty of the land that sustains us all.